Alright, so I bought some more books. Please just ignore all the empty shelves. You'll understand why. Just don't judge, okay? Alright, so first up, after finishing the Red Rising trilogy, I decided to pick up the next editions of it, which are Iron Gold and Dark Age. Book 6 is not actually out yet, but this is the follow-up trilogy that takes place a decade after the conclusion of the original trilogy with Morning Star. So Iron Gold, I'm roughly almost halfway through it right now. This book is fantastic so far. Very dark. It's actually interesting because from where Red Rising started as almost like a blend of dystopian, sci-fi, fantasy, YA, amalgamation of things, Golden Sun really kicked ass in the sci-fi genre and was one of the strongest books that I've read this year, and Morning Star was a perfect conclusion to that trilogy. Reviews are up here. So I went ahead and I picked up the two of the three of the second trilogy, and Iron Gold takes a much darker tone because it's 10 years after the conclusion of the original trilogy. You are exploring a lot of things that were left behind from the original trilogy, so without spoiling too much, it's basically Darrow and the remaining crew from the first trilogy really trying to build up the new government and succeed, survive in this world that they've created after what happened in Morning Star. So if you haven't read that original trilogy, highly recommend it. Some of the best books that I've read this year. Definitely recommend that. And Dark Age, I'm not quite sure what to expect from that yet because I haven't finished Iron Gold, and I don't want to read any excerpts from it because it'll probably spoil who lives and dies. What is really cool about this though is Pierce Brown, the original trilogy was entirely first-person point of view from Darrow, who's our main protagonist, and in this trilogy there's actually split into 4 POV chapters. So you have Darrow and 3 others. One character who remains from the original trilogy is now a POV chapter, and then 2 you meet in this book, and I don't want to spoil their names or anything. It's probably not a spoiler. I'm just gonna say you meet Lyria and you meet Ephraim. Those are just the 2 characters. They exist. I don't think that really tells you too much. They're brand new characters. It is my understanding though that the second trilogy gets much darker, almost like a sci-fi grimdark. It's a pretty violent world. Very great character work. The prose are fantastic. They're super easy to read. So I'm having a blast with that one. And then because I have a problem and I like reading very dark stories where people are terrible to each other, and I haven't read Joe Abercrombie yet, so I picked up Blade Itself. Well, let's get in the focus. There it is. Yes, Blade Itself. So First Law, I went ahead and bought all 3 of them. These are some thick books I've got here. So I actually don't know a whole lot about this story other than that it's very heavy in the character work. At least Blade Itself is very heavily focused on the characters, multiple POVs, super grimdark, violent. Most of the characters are not good or bad. I've heard pretty much nothing but fantastic things about the First Law trilogy and the other books in the series. So I believe there's another trilogy that exists, and then I know there's a bunch of standalones, so like a little hatred that I always saw on bookshelves. I didn't want to get to that yet because I hadn't read these, so these are definitely going to be on my TBR for May, probably maybe June. I have a bunch of crap to read through, finishing Red Rising, and then I'm actually going to lead into what else I picked up, because this book haul is basically just 3 trilogies or 3 series. So I bought 9 books, 2 of which were the second Red Rising trilogy, 3 of which were First Law, and then picked up The Faithful and The Fallen. So here's Malice, and I mean these covers are just fantastic. I ended up picking these up because I had been seeing them. Jesus, this is like a freaking brick. Oh my god. Covers are fantastic. The artwork's great. These are some real big books, but I haven't read anything by Gwynne yet. and I heard a lot of great things about this series, and he does have another series that takes place 1,000 years in the future after this series, so I'll get to that later this year as well. But basically taking a bit of a step away from so much grimdark dystopian kind of crap that I've been reading. It's my understanding that these books are more epic fantasy. I know a lot of Malice is set up for the world and the series as a whole because it's apparently massive. It does look like this is a multiple POV third-person story. So you've got Corbin, Evnis, Veridus, and Nater. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. But definitely looking forward to these. I actually saw over at Mike's book reviews, he's actually starting these as well and was asking about, his audience to see if they wanted to read along with him. So I'm going to start this one tonight, and I'm going to read this simultaneously with Iron Gold as I finish that one up. Review will be up for that probably next week. But I'm going to start reading this one because I want to kind of offset the terrible, sad, violent nature of the characters that I've been reading about and maybe get something a little bit different. But that pretty much wraps up this book haul right now. It's a lot of very heavy, thick books in these series. I love really big, epic fantasy books, so I'm definitely looking forward to all of these. And then later this year, I'll be working my way through the rest of that shelf. But just wanted to update everybody on the books that I bought, what I'm currently reading, and what to look forward to. So until next time, everybody, keep reading.